Welcome back. In part one, we left Walter White at one of the most significant moments of his life. He's just been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. He's dying. For years, we said he had put up with a life, he tolerated a life that seemed to belong to everyone else. He allowed frustration to build up. It increased over the years, and he went along with what other people expected of him. He just agreed with whatever anyone else expected of him. But now, the clock is ticking. Time is running out. The future looks very different. The question now is not what should I do for the next 30 years. It's what can I do with the little time I have left. This is Walter's dilemma. That change in perspective is important here. Sometimes people don't really change. Sometimes they simply stop pretending. Anyway, soon after Walter receives this diagnosis, he accepts an invitation from his brother-in-law, Hank Schrader. Hank works for the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. He invites Walter to come along on a drug raid. At first, it seems harmless. Walter is curious. He's watching in the car. He's in the car watching from a safe distance. And then something unexpected happens. One of the suspects escapes through a window. Walter immediately recognizes him. It's Jesse Pinkman, one of his former students. Jesse jumps into a car and speeds away before the police can catch him. Now, at this point, that would be the end of the story, but not for Walter. At this point, instead of forgetting what he saw, he begins to think over an idea that would have seemed impossible just a few days earlier. A phrasal verb here is to come along. It means to accompany someone. Hank let him come along on a drug bust, a drug raid. You'll hear things like, "Do you want to come along?" "My brother came along to the concert" in the past. So native speakers, they use this far more naturally than simply saying accompany. Walter is thinking something over. That means he's considering something carefully before making a decision. We often say, "Let me think it over." So notice how often English speakers use this expression in everyday conversation. Let me think it over. Let me think it over. Walter realizes something. He understands chemistry better than almost anyone. Jesse, the guy that's just escaped out of the window, his ex-student, Jesse understands the criminal world. Separately, suppose neither one can build a successful meth business. This is what this is all heading to. But together, maybe they can. Perhaps they can. Now, at this point, Walter hasn't actually committed a crime yet. He's still standing on the edge. He's still thinking it over. And I suppose this is one of the interesting things about this pilot episode, this episode 1. The transformation isn't immediate, it's gradual. Although every small decision makes the next decision slightly easier. Psychologists, they sometimes describe this as the slippery slope effect. You don't suddenly wake up one morning as a completely different person. Maybe you take one small step, then another, until one day you realize you've traveled a very, very long way. That's an idiom, a slippery slope. It means a situation where one small action gradually leads to much bigger consequences. Lying once, for instance, can become a slippery slope. You do it more and more. Ignoring small problems is often a slippery slope. So Walter, he doesn't wait very long. He tracks Jesse down. He goes to Jesse's house and he confronts him with an extraordinary proposal. Walter says, in effect, he says, I know what you do. Either we cook together, cook meth, or I tell the DEA. Remember, his brother-in-law, Hank, is a DEA. He works for the DEA. So this isn't exactly a friendly business proposal. It's blackmail. And this is probably one of the first moments where we begin to question Walter's morality. At this point, many first-time viewers, they still see Walter as the hero. After all, he's dying. He wants to provide for his family. But if you slow down and you look at his behavior, you examine his behavior, he's already manipulating another person, Jesse. He's already using fear to get what he wants, this fear of blackmail. I suppose at this point, these early moments, they reveal qualities that may have existed inside Walter for years. The cancer didn't create them. It just allowed them to come out. When we say track someone down, I said that Walter tracked Jesse down. It means to find someone after searching. The police tracked him down, for instance. There's a phrasal verb as well, to come out, meaning to become visible or obvious. In this situation, you would say Walter's true personality came out at this point. We also say the truth eventually came out. It appeared. We talk about personalities and emotions and secrets often coming out. So Jesse, at this point, he's shocked. At first he laughs. It's Walter White, his old chemistry teacher. Cooking meth, really? The idea seems ridiculous. But Walter, he isn't joking. Maybe at this point Jesse sees something different in him. Maybe not confidence exactly. Maybe determination. Walter has finally made up his mind. To make up your mind means to make a final decision. We say to people, have you made up your mind? Have you made up your mind? So there's a question here. Why doesn't Walter simply accept money from his now wealthy former business partners? Later in the series, you find out that they would almost certainly have paid for his treatment for this lung cancer. But he refuses. For Walter, this isn't only about money. We find this out later in the series. But this isn't only about money for Walt. It's about pride. For years, he actually believed that life had cheated him. He helped create $1 billion company in the past. Then he left. And now other people are enjoying the success that might have been his or would have been his. Accepting charity at this point, that would mean accepting that failure. And Walter, well, he just can't live with that. To live with something means to accept a difficult situation emotionally. You can hear things like, I can't live with that decision. She learned to live with the disappointment, to live with something. Live with often describes emotional acceptance rather than physical living arrangements. It can mean that I live with someone, but in this context, it often describes emotional acceptance. In English, we often say, native speakers often say, enough is enough. It means I've tolerated this for long enough. I've put up with this for long enough. I'm not accepting it anymore. That expression, well, perfectly describes Walter's emotional state at this point. Years of frustration have finally reached their limit. He's no longer willing to simply carry on with his ordinary life. To carry on just means to continue. Again, it's a phrasal verb. We carried on working, for instance, or life carried on after the accident. This is one of the most common phrasal verbs in English. You'll hear it every single day eventually. Carry on, to carry on. By the way, when I mentioned the terminal illness, that's an illness that can't be cured and will eventually cause death. Blackmail, I mentioned the word blackmail a couple of times. That's using threats to force someone to do something. And resentment is important here. The word resentment, it's a feeling of bitterness after years of unfair treatment, resentment, humiliation. Walter feels humiliated. Humiliation is the painful feeling of losing your dignity, and desperation. Another word that you'll hear in discussions like this. That's a feeling that you have no good options left. You are desperate, described as desperation. So Walter, at this point, he's now found his partner. He's crossed another moral line, and yet he still tells himself, or he still believes he's doing all this for his family. Is that really true? Or is he finally doing something for himself? In part 3, we're going to look at Walter and Jesse's first cook when they cook meth in the desert, and the choices that force Walter into violence. And there's a famous moment when this timid chemistry teacher begins to disappear, and Heisenberg starts to emerge. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye for now.